Is Stan Romanek a child molester? I don't know. See what we did there? Oh, you decide. Bunch of pictures of kitty porn. Has a nice entourage. A wife that really doesn't seem to care. I don't know. We'll let the court decide. I'd love to know the results of the mental health evaluation. Basically, that's the results I'd like to know. If that is that going to be public record? It admitted into evidence somewhere there in that case, because I'd like to see if that would be available for my reading pleasure on the toilet. Of course, on my phone, not an actual piece of paper in my hand anymore. That almost doesn't exist. No, it does. It does. There's a lot of paper around. That was an exaggeration. Yeah, that's I'm wondering that myself. Leah, or Lee, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'd love to share it if I got my hands on it. I'm sure it's just a simple media request to the courthouse and see if it'll release the documents. I've seen it done a million times working in the Wake County courthouse, so I'm sure it's not too far off from what happens in, what is it, Loveland? I forget what county it was in there. Fort Collins or something like that was the place. So, there is the seat, I guess, of the county. I don't know. Yeah, you can get a bunch of stuff redacted, right? Bunch of black boxes. It won't be. That's not true. That's not true. I'm sure there'll be more than to release that. But, I'm just waiting for the truth to come out and the light of day to shine its sanitary light on everything and exonerate a man who's been framed. If you believe that. I've got some property to sell you near the beach. Yeah, that's the trip. I wonder how many speaking engagements he will be a part of. I know he canceled some, but I think there's one still out there on his website that they were still touting as a possibility of showing up to. I'm not sure where exactly it was off the top of my head. I have not looked just yet, or I haven't looked into it as of now or anything like that, so I wasn't that interested. All I know is that they tried to, they had their, I think it was the 11th or something like that, 7th, or I think it was the 7th, yeah. 7th they had their court date, they pushed it another week or something like that, and who knows, it's this week sometime, I think, or the 28th or something, I don't know. I'd have to look at a calendar and then jump on my burner Facebook account. It's 28th, I think. I remember seeing. Jump on my burner Facebook account and then go check and all this stupidness. I just don't, because of course you get blocked when you hit people in the mouth repetitively. when you go over there and you see what kind of whack jobs are supporting them. Audrey Starborn. Ugh, butchered that name. Audrey Starborn. More than happy to support them any way she can, monetarily, publicly, emotionally. Just a fantastic human all around. She is, I assume. But of course, she's coming out to defend Stan because he's an experiencer, right? And she's just there because he's an experiencer, and that's what she does. She supports experiencers. Okay? So, not necessarily supporting him, as a pedophile. Where the hairs get split in that is beyond me, but I'm sure we'll hear about it here soon when these things happen. But like I said before, be ready for a plea deal and no jail time. Okay? That's exactly what I expect out of the Romanek case. Seen it a million times. Good night, UFOdailybread.com. Go check her out on Blogger there online, and Claudette Hubler. Do yourself a favor and check her out. And who knows, she'll be on the panel, I'm sure. Nice and comfortable and overwhelming by too many people around you. But hey, that's my job, though, as the MC of that whole panel there, I guess, is to make sure everybody gets their time and gets to talk and gets their rebuttals in and all that kind of stuff. So challenging, sure, but definitely worthwhile, because this garbage done, just absolutely done with the rigmarole of the same process over and over. And that's part of the reason why I haven't had a guest lately and all that kind of garbage. Because after I basically found out that it's just a shit show, who can have the batshitness craziest guest on for ratings, then, well, that's all the fuck it is. To what end? Where's it going then? It's like I asked John Ziegler that on Twitter the other day, where they just said, well, all your haters and all your detractors and all this other stuff, and I was like, well, where's it end for you, John, and your exoneration of a pedophile, and Jerry Sandusky and cover-ups and all that kind of stuff with Paterno. What's the end point? I said, what happens? I said, here, let me help you here, John. Sandusky's out of jail. The jail door's open. The money went back because all the victims were liars, and the victims that lied are now going to jail. All of this has been done because this is essentially what the man is railing for, by the way. And like I said, I'm a glutton for punishment, and I love entertaining fantasies. So you got all those. What now for John Ziegler? What do you do now? What's the end game? Because if that wasn't it, because that didn't get a response, for sure, I'll tell you that right now, on Twitter. That doesn't get a response by him or any of the acolytes that could retweet and all that kind of stuff and think they're cute and act like they're not hearing you. That didn't get a response on Shocked, Not Shocked. But, and then someone else went on about, and then I further he went on with all this shenanigans, and I said, okay, well then basically what you're telling me is that since no one can sum up the end game here, no one can quantify their happiness in this case. What makes you happy at the end? What do you want? What will make you just the man of the hour or whatever, that you want? Because he's already claimed that he has bigger balls than anybody, and he wants he wants Sandusky to be a hero. He wants to be the hero. He wants to be the story, and you'll hear all that in the interview. It's like I told him, I'm here to ask you the questions I want to ask to you because you're the star. You're the hero here. But anyway, the enigma in the whole damn story that's most interesting, by the way, is John Ziegler and his behavior with his acolytes there. Those are the ones that are the most entertaining, that's for sure. Like I said, it's like a form of people watching, basically, on Twitter. But a lot of breaking our arms to pat ourselves on the back and tell everyone what a beautiful man we are. And so... Oop, hang on, I got something playing in my ear. Anybody check out The Guy on a Buffalo? I really think you should get on that. Here. I'm linking it in the Pal Talk chat room right now. There we go. Guy on a Buffalo. It's a little twangy. It's a movie, and it has been spliced together in a couple 2-minute clips, and it's a guy riding a buffalo through the plains, basically. So he does a lot of things and such. And the like. Very oldie-timey talking type person. But he He's a good time. I caught that. There's about 7 million views right there on YouTube on that. He fights a cougar with his bare hands, punches him in the face. So, anytime you see a human-animal fight, it's always a good time. You know, like the deer that's kicking the guy in the face that was trying to shoot him with an arrow. That kind of stuff's good. You know, love it. First of all, just the worst hunter in the world, right? If you're going to let a deer just trample you. How do you not have a knife on you? You know? At least be strong enough to take out the animal, you know, without a gun, if it comes at you, you know, or it's, you know, comes close to you or something like that. So, that's pretty much my thinking. Yeah, it's very, it's like an old real documentary, though. A guy on a buffalo. Hashtag guy on a buffalo. Would be hilarious. But it's like a real old documentary. There's a real, like, full, almost 2-hour movie of that guy and his adventures, basically. And this is kind of a couple episodes is spliced together of the whole movie and down to about 10 minutes total. You know, between 3 or 4 videos. And it reminds me of driving through the Appalachian Mountains and hitting the different valleys, and like each valley having a different radio station that's playing the local hoedown hootenanny or whatever it is that night. So it's very nice. Yeah, pet buffalo seems pretty solid as long as you can tame it. You know, it's basically a bull. It acts like a bull. When it jumps around and stuff, and I think in the videos it kicks a wolf and chases off a bear and all this craziness. It's crazy. You know, it's funny. I didn't know buffaloes ran off bears. Just went right at them. But yeah, I guess it's getting chased off by a buffalo with the guy on it. By a guy on a buffalo. But it's real funny, and it's well worth listening to, or watching. Guy on a buffalo on YouTube. So good luck with that, and you can thank me later. Because it's brilliant. Kind of. Yeah, buffalo burgers are great. I had a steak the other day that was awesome too, from that I got from one of these hippie stores, and got some aged beef, aged hamburger actually is what it was, ground up. So it was good. Man, it was good. It was like the most tender ribeye I'd had in a while. I was all over it. Yeah, don't throw it on for long. Yeah, you can't ruin something like that, a piece of meat like that, if you're going to go out and buy it. But yeah, it was good. Had it this weekend. Well worth it. Well worth it. Now I know why they were getting shot all the time. Oh, wait, that was for the fur and the hide. And yeah, in that full movie, evidently, they were saying that the hide of the buffalo wasn't tough enough to do the things that the cowhide could do, and they had to have like a special tanning procedure, I guess, to make it tough and all that. So that was weird. I didn't know that. I thought it was the best you can get, but what do I know? You know what would be sweet? Buffalo hide lined seats in your car. That'd be solid, right? Some whale skin hubcaps. I know, people are outraged, right? Cats and dogs living together. Speaking of dogs living together, if you own a pit bull and you have a toddler, or a child in general, you're probably an idiot. I just saw today where an 8-month-old and a 4-year-old got mauled. They were in cages being watched by grandma, stuff like that, and dog just snaps and go wild. And you may think, well, that's just punish the deed, not the breed. Well, that's just stupid talk. Because the next time I see, and I'm just going to throw this out there as an example, a Doberman attacking someone that viciously will be kind of the first time, because I haven't heard it happening before, number one. Number two, it kind of, my family, my dad's side of the family in Indiana grew up raising Dobermans, selling them, training them, the whole deal, right? And I'm sure there's some out there that says, it'll say, well, Chip's family runs a puppy farm. Well, they're all dead now, so jerk, joke's on you. So no one in my family's running a puppy mill, okay? These dogs, these Dobermans that were trained were the most obedient and intelligent animals I've ever been around in my life. They would leave me and my cousin out in the yard with them when we were toddlers, under 4 or 5, hanging out in the yard in rural Indiana, right? Or no, not really rural, but it was in a town, but it wasn't nothing big. And we could poke and pull and push and, do all that kind of stuff to this dog, and it wouldn't do jack. It ain't even growling at us, all right? And you know how little kids are with dogs. We're busy poking them in the eye, poking them in the rear, and doing stupid things, right? Pulling on ears and all that. Well, and never once did these dogs do anything like that. So, when someone wants to talk about, punishing deeds instead of breeds, I want you all to keep that in mind. And I know it's very anecdotal, and I'm probably a 1 in a million, but somewhere along the lines, it was fully capable to take what was or could be considered a potentially dangerous dog, whether it be defense or security or offense or whatever, and make them obedient. All right? Now, I'm not going to lie to you and say that my grandfather didn't lay into an animal here and there, but that animal never laid back into him, never laid into us. So, if you're going to have a pit bull, and that's fine if you own one, try not, and I know it's hard, you cannot be afraid of that animal. And that's something I was born with, that I grew up around and was put into me and my cousin. I'm not afraid of a dog, okay? Because I know at the end of the day, if this dog wants to get his hands on me, or his teeth, so to speak, I'm going to give him something, but I'm going to have a free hand too. All right? And it's going to be a short day for that dog, okay? There's ways that you can defend yourself against such animals, and being scared of them is not one of them, okay? So even these owners that you see out here walking the streets, playing thug life all day, talking about what a badass dog they got and how it goes and eats tires, they're scared to death of that animal, and don't let them fool you. And they do not have control of that animal either. It's because they got a leash, they got a hold of it, don't mean they can hang on to it. All right? Because I work with some individuals in law enforcement where we would go to a house, and this thing would be a chihuahua, and they would not walk in that door. That's a real phobia some folks have. All right? So don't think that when that pit bull hits the room, that all of a sudden their nuts are going to get bigger. They're going to be able to control it. So that's number 1. Don't buy an animal if you're going to be scared of it at any point in time of your life. Number 2, don't buy that animal if you have children. Number 3, get an animal from a good place, with a good background, and proven capability to train an animal without beating it to death. All right? It doesn't mean you ain't going to have to lay into that animal to teach them. They're a dog. They are stupid for the most part. A pig is smarter. A cat is smarter. Okay? Those are my things with pit bull. You can own one. Don't bring it around kids. Don't own one. If you have kids, if you're old, don't do that. If you're an old man and you got this badass dog, I could see why you'd have that instead of a gun or something in your hood or whatever you want to do, or you want to walk around and you're a woman and you got this big badass dog, that's fine. But like I said, just keep it away from the kids. and be damn sure that you can control that animal at any time. Or if you're going to lock them up, be damn sure they can't get out of there. Don't be buying the cheapest cage you can find, because it could be somebody's life that gets ruined because you wanted to be cheap. All right, so that's my stupid little rant about pit bulls and all that I see in the news all the time. It just kills me, you know. And I say pretty much the same thing on Facebook, that you know, it doesn't get a whole lot of people agreeing with me. And these are, you know, my personal pages, supposedly people that know me should have expected this kind of thing out of me, and especially my family members who know this about our history and what we used to raise back in Indiana for people. You know, it's a good dog. I still want another Doberman to this day. That's the dog I want. You know, if you're a prepper and all that kind of stuff, and you want a dog, it's fine. You can get your pit bull, but I'll take a Doberman. They're smarter, they're faster, work out better for you in the long run. So all that diatribe's over for the night. No more ranting. Peace in the Mideast. There are no structures on Mars. Until I see further evidence, I will recant all statements. Scientific evidence, that is, not anecdotal pseudoscience. Because, frankly, I can take any bit of information and give my opinion and then juxtapose it to be fact, if I wanted to. And that's pretty much what people do. So, for the most part. Have a good evening. I'm assuming we will be here next week. I can't launch the new phase of the whole rigmarole until I actually get some people scheduled for it. So we will do that, and hopefully everything will go off without a hitch. That's wrong. Something will go wrong. But anyway, it'll be fun, and we'll learn, and you'll learn. We'll all have laughs, and we'll hug and high five and X's and O's for everybody. Have a good night, everybody. You're listening to the United Public Radio Network, uprntalkradio.com. Find us on soundcloud.com/UPRN. Like the Mind Cemetery on Facebook. Follow the Mind Cemetery on Twitter. Good night, everybody, and we will see you next week. If not, we will have a best of, just so I can get the new and improved format on the road. But we shall see. I'll see you tomorrow night if you're interested in sports, 7 to 9 p.m. with JT. Plenty of good stuff going on there. Chris Cluey comments, Tony Dungy comments. A lot of people bathing themselves in the armor of religion when they go to make stupid comments. See you next week, folks. Good night.
Welcome to the Mind Cemetery, where the paranoia about the paranormal comes to rest every Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern, right here, exclusively on the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. Heard around the world online at uprntalkradio.com, on FM 107.7 New Orleans, as well as 105.9 in Pass Christian, Mississippi. As always, we will do our best to delve into the unexplained, weird, and sometimes creepy topics you won't hear in your local news. Like what you hear on the show? Then like the Mind Cemetery Facebook page and follow at Mind Cemetery on Twitter. If you want to check out the show on your time, download the Mind Cemetery off iTunes and at soundcloud.com/UPRN. For all of the UFO Paranormal Radio Network's shows, visit mindcemetery.net for info on upcoming guests, weird news, award-winning blogs, show archives, and of course the ever-present UFO Stalker. Join the discussion live in the UFO Paranormal Radio Network chat room on Pal Talk, or call into the show at 1-504-273-7379.
That's right, and welcome. You are listening to the Mind Cemetery, sometimes live, and especially tonight, because we are back after a hiatus and after being, well, inconsistent. Let's just put it that way. And that happens. You know why it happens? Because life happens. I know it's difficult to do a show every week, let alone daily. I think the people that do the daily shows are, the real heroes. But on second thought, it also makes me think, The shenanigans that they have to put up with to constantly put out a program nightly really diminishes the product. But, like I said, you have to sacrifice consistency for that. So you have to pretty much take on all comers, in whatever respective genre, whether it be Bigfoot or UFO or paranormal, and roll with the punches a day in, a day out with that. And that's something as me being the host that I am and opinionated as much as I am, which you don't really get out of a whole lot of folks out there. You get a whole lot of glad handing, a lot of mutual adoration going on, and all that good stuff. So that's the difference, I guess, between me and other folks out there, is you actually have to you have to discriminate. It's kind of like Neil Page and Del Griffin in the hotel room in Wichita, Kansas. Not everything is an amusing anecdote. You have to discriminate every once in a while, and I think a lot of folks out there that do the hosting thing for their podcast or radio show or whichever the hell they want to call it, and whatever form it is in, truly don't care about or want to really care about, because then it makes life hard, because you have to think, and nobody likes to think. God, why should we do that? But don't get me wrong, I'm certainly not above the fray of having a nice entertaining guest on every once in a while. And I had one recently, I guess a couple months ago now, actually. Cal Korff I had on. That didn't get, and I fully expected, a rampant, ravenous crowd of people saying, "Chip, what are you doing? This man's full of crap. Why are you giving him FaceTime?" Blah, blah, blah. Well, we all know that. Like, why? Who has to be told that Cal Korff is, let's just say, less than truthful about some things? Well, more than a few things. At this point, really? Do you have to be told that? Do I have to draw it in crayon for you that this was entertainment? Well, I got a little backlash from a group out there that, excuse me, had to clear the old throat there. It's not used to talking on the radio, on the internets. So a little group headed by a guy by the name of Cal Israel. Now, I don't know who the hell this guy is, and he wrote up a little blog on his site that's purely dedicated to giving Cal not a moment of rest. So I do admire that aspect of everything, but he definitely, was upset with the fact that I had him on for entertainment and that I let him talk. He was upset that I let him say things, which blows my mind again too. Like, what was I supposed to do? Immediately tell him that I think he's full of crap in the first 10, 15 minutes, and then, there goes that show idea. So, I'm going to see about having him on, because I told him, I'd love to have you on so you can express all your concerns and your issues that you had with me and the stylistic differences that let Cal Korff run rampant. Just let him really run wild on you and fool a whole bunch of people. The man's been run out of the country. Does it get any worse? He's living in India. I wouldn't wish living in India on anyone. Like, I really can't think of anyone that I'd like to move to India just to get him out of my life. But he's going, that's where he's at. So, where else do you want him to go? Baghdad? Fallujah? Pick a city, God, it's, how many times, how long?
well, you got to keep running roughshod on the poor guy. He obviously didn't think out his life and the things that he was saying, and it got out of control quickly, and he, had to split the country, which not a lot of folks have had to do. So if that's pretty much the high sign on him, and it doesn't mean that I can't do 2 hours with a civil conversation with someone like that. It's possible. It's doable, and it did happen, actually. You can still download it if you'd like. It got some plays, a few spins, as they say. So yeah, this Cal Israel, I would like to know if that's his real name. I'll assume it's not. I'll go out on that that limb. Yeah. So yeah, Cal Israel is out there running a faction that is just pure, straightforward into running Cal out on a rail for the rest of his life, I guess. So, and one of my biggest things with having him as a guest was to highlight just how odd the UFO genre truly is, and how forgiving they are for some and others they are not, when essentially it's that individual's personality that opened them up to this criticism. Because let's face it, if you're an older white male, little salt and pepper going on, a little gray, you look like somewhat of an academia type, you framed yourself into that way, you get a lot of leeway out there. You can do a lot of funny things and still get away with it and still have a life in ufology. And there's other people that don't get that chance because they're not savvy enough. They think they are, but they're really not. They're not capable of longevity in the game, quote unquote. I put the rabbit ears up for all you radio listeners out there, which is basically all of you. I have to describe what's going on with my hands. Very Italian hands, even though I'm Polish. So yeah, that was the part of the reason of having Cal on, and hopefully Cal Israel, I can get back up with him and we can talk and I can find out who he really is and all that kind of stuff, and then essentially ask him why. Why do you care this much? Why do you have a Tumblr account or a blog specifically to any and all, appearances that he makes, which he rarely does. Like, I didn't even expect him to even acknowledge me, when I asked him to come on. But he was very nice. He's a nice guy. Very cordial, very wide open, anything we could talk about kind of thing. He, sent some guidelines to me of some talking points that he wanted to hit, like most guests do, like St. George Norrie does to every one of his guests, So that was another thing. Cal Israel was like, well, what's your protocol for this and all that? So I'm like, what do you really have just overthought this whole thing, because essentially it's, 9 o'clock Eastern rolls around, computers get turned on, and she goes, as Ray says in Trailer Park Boys. It's just the way she goes, and away we go. So you're really putting way too much thought into it, and I know it's wild to do things on the fly and have to think while doing it, because like I said earlier, thinking is hard on people, so they have to work diligently and do a lot of show prep and have questions ready and all that kind of no, you don't. Just if you're a halfway intelligent human being, you should be able to hold a conversation for a little while about a topic that you seemingly are interested in, so, and you can go off on many different angles on that, and away you go, and before you know it, 2 hours is up, and I'll see you next week. So that's basically the theme here. Filling time for fun. And no profit, I guess, is what it comes down to. So, moving forward, let's see, what do we got? That's the Cal Israel outrage I had to deal with while I was on the hiatus, doing some moving and all that kind of stuff, so that was no fun. You can, for anybody interested still in hearing Nicole's voice on this show, you can pretty much put that to rest. That's not going to happen. Let's just call it irreconcilable differences. You know, if you've listened to me at all, you know I kind of have a thing where, you know, I'm not a big fan of just flat out liars. So when too many things happen that can't be corroborated anymore, then, you know, I gotta turn into Paulie from the Goodfellas and say, you know, now I gotta turn my back on you now because I can't do it no more. So it's an unfortunate turn of events there for everyone involved. So you know, we'll be moving forward, onward and upward, and all that good stuff. As for the network, I had heard through the network grapevine, which basically equates to Stephanie Benetti, letting me know. And you can hear her along with Joe Montaldo, in case you were wondering. You know, the owner of the station here and the producer for all the fantastic programming that you get to hear, which, by the way, is unlike, for the most part, I'd say. He's got a 2, 3, 4 shows that I know for sure are just straight different from any other network. You know, we're a bunch of black sheeps, and we've managed to get corralled in the same spot, and I like to call it, and keep it simple, and call it market differentiation. That's a term I hope more aspiring podcasters and hosts would consider. You know, because you can't go through life sounding like everyone else and doing what everyone else did. And I understand that there are some blueprints out there. There are some plans. There are some ideas on how to be the next internet superstar on the radio. But no, not me. You can do that if you'd like. Go ahead, you know. Go ahead. I'm sure you'll catch plenty of flies with honey, but I'm, you know, busy trying not to catch flies. I don't want flies. Who wants flies? Nobody. Flies lead to maggots and swatting and just yuck. Don't want it. Don't want it, don't need it, as one of my old coaches used to say. One of my favorite little rants that he went on was saying, I don't want it and I don't need it. I almost laughed in his face when I heard that because it was too priceless at the time. But we do have an addition to the network coming on Fridays. And as you know, as I heard through the network grapevine, that is Stephanie Benetti, the always entertaining Stephanie Benetti, who is on Wednesday nights and Saturday nights doing a little news on the flip side action, 6 to 10 on Saturdays. A big 4-hour block there. You know, as they say in the South, bless her heart for having to wrangle with Joe for 4 hours. Because it is, it's off the chain, I'm sure, but that's okay. Everybody is. Every once in a while. But Thursday nights, they also do an hour of the Flip Side Light, so check that out too. But she says that we have a new show on Fridays. Ooh, big loud car. It'd need a muffler. That's what happens sometimes when you live in redneck paradise, right? Anyway, I'll get to soundproofing the new studio here soon enough. Which means never. Basically, never. That'll happen. New show, Supernatural Substation. Interesting. With Eileen, Now I gotta be careful with this name. First of all, that's why I am hesitating, because I pronounced it a bunch of times in my head, but it could go bad quick, and I think you'll understand why. Aileen Pustanio. Yes, Pustanio. Pustanio. Say that 5 times fast and tell me you can't screw that up quick, in a hurry, as they say. So she will be on Friday nights. Supernatural Substation. I get, evidently, and I know I repeated that, but I get it in my head because I hear it said certain ways so many times, so I have to repeat it like that, like a good salivating Pavlov dog. And I don't even know if that's the right analogy. I may be completely wrong in that one too. But anyway, her speciality is New Orleans folklore and paranormal. So she knows all that good stuff going on down there, and it's right in Joe's backyard. So she will be coming on directly after everyone's favorite, my pal, my buddy, my partner in crime and radio fun jinx, Jeff Pritchett and the Church of Mavis. So it'll be awesome. Friday night now, you can stay tuned and continue listening to UPRN for the rest of the night with Jeff, and then on to Aileen here and Supernatural Substation. So filling out the schedule with people that actually like what they're doing, and people that aren't starving for attention or dependent on star power to make it all go around. And that's what I like. That's what I hope most of my listeners like, is hearing new ideas, new perspectives, new voices, because it gets rehashed real quick and it gets real old hearing from the same old people all the time. It's like I was just explaining to someone earlier, who the hell wants to listen to Stanton Freeman and Richard Dolan? Why in God's name would you want to do that? They say the same thing all the time, and it's just, you heard them once, you heard them a million times. It doesn't matter. But yet, people still tune in to hear that nuclear physicist and historian tell tales of Roswell and breakaway society. Just shoot me in the face. I don't want to hear it anymore. I'm sorry. There's nothing to hear from them. So go ahead and check that out Friday night. We get some new action there. Speaking of action, it's not so good, as they say in the old country. The stock market is crashing, in case you were wondering. So first of all, what I want you all to do is to blame Obama first. If you have a Twitter account, go ahead and make your comment and then hashtag thanks Obama. And you can do that on your Facebook page too. It's fine. You could do the hashtag there too. I guess now that they've incorporated that into the whole algorithm that they have now going. But always preface your complaints about America with thanks Obama. That'll really let everybody know that you're basically a moron or you're having an incredible amount of fun. So, be careful with that. I always enjoy tagging stuff with thanks Obama, didn't drive through, forgot my fries again. Thanks Obama. Just an example of where to use that. $15 an hour fast food, minimum wage. Thanks Obama. Still screwing up my order. Because that's essentially all most Americans give a damn about, is the roof over their head and the food in their stomach and the shoes on their feet and the clothes on their back, right? Which is unfortunate, because that stuff should be standard life equipment. Wouldn't that be nice? Isn't that an odd thought that kind of stuff can happen in the richest country on earth, supposedly? Yeah. God forbid we ask for too much around here, because, You want a welfare state? No, I just want an actual caring human being run government. Okay, not a lobbyist run one. But I have wild ideas and thoughts, so don't listen to me and what I have to say. I'll obviously will lead you astray quickly, and without prejudice. So. So let's see. We did that. You know what? Instead of talking about the stories that I had found on the internets and any more of the stock market, because God knows that's depressing, and we did that and we did that. Let's see. Let's go ahead and bring on our guest, and I'm gonna do the best intro that I possibly can for him. His name is Danny Miller, and I think I need to preface everything with I had seen, hopefully he's not asleep, I had seen Danny posting several times on UFO updates and maybe even a couple other but Facebook pages out there. And what first drew me to him is that he's thinking, okay? He's taken a lot of what we had been saying and running with it, especially at the time when I kind of got tired of it. I got tired of fighting against the nonsense because, I had real life things going on that I had to deal with, and it just stepped away for a little bit, and boom, here comes Danny, like a wrecking ball, actually. and he doesn't have a lot of friends. He had been told he doesn't matter and that he's all the usual stuff. So that's what I really enjoyed seeing, because I knew that didn't faze him. And he kept pounding and kept going and kept touching those nerves on these folks out here that wanted to know, what's your problem, Danny, and all that kind of stuff. Why are you being mean and all that? Grow up. Deal with criticism. These are things that upset me out of these folks that want to sit there and run to a microphone or a camera and then wonder why they get criticized. So that kind of stuff blows my little mind every once in a while. So without further ado, the first time interviewee, Danny Miller.
That was quite the intro, sir. Thank you.
Not bad, huh? On the fly.
No, not bad. You made me sound like more important than I am. I promise. Like, you did a good job.
Right, and that's the point I'd like to make by even having you on, is that you don't have to be this superstar to have an opinion that matters. I mean, you don't have to have a blog. You don't have to have a radio show. You don't have to be on TV. You don't need degrees on the wall. You just need a functioning brain. And that upsets people. And when that upsets someone,
they hate it.
They
hate it. I've definitely made a few enemies in the past few weeks, and this, I mean, almost the Facebook page UFO updates is almost taken up. That's it. But I'm just so amused by how people, they have a pet UFO case, especially the cases that are, let's just say the pets for all of us, the pets for ufology, your Roswells, your Rendleshams, stuff like that. And if you make a slight mention of the fact that some of those cases are being held together with duct tape and bubble gum, as my wife says,
right.
I really upset people. I mean, that's all there is to it. And so my goal has been not so much to be a jerk, although I've been accused of it But just you know, just say, like, you know, my most controversial post, which I think I'm up to 300 some freaking responses now, is just, you know, hey, here's a couple of big cases, and I think they're all falling apart. Basically, you know, what do we got? And oh my gosh, turmoil. You know, I mean, people cussed me out and called me names and told me to do my homework, and they were people who clearly hadn't done their homework. So, you know, the first guy to cuss me out, I was just like, okay. You know, I'm like, you know, if you read through my comments, I gave you my position very clearly for each one of the cases. Your turn. What did I get? Nothing, because he had nothing.
Right. Your phone position right there where you're talking is perfect. If you could keep that up, please.
Okay, so you like it right here?
A little farther back. It's all right.
Well, I'm on a headset, so I never know.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I used to rock that headset too.
I'm using my iPhone headphones. My iPhone headphones, actually, not like a dedicated headset. I'm using the earpiece, the headphones.
I see.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
No problem.
I'm hoping you get a good signal.
Inches. Yeah, it sounds good. Just keep it a couple inches from your mouth there, you know. When you mentioned the pet project protection and the Vietnam attacks that you got, you know, when people tell you to do your homework, that is one of my favorite responses from someone. That's when you know that they've got nothing. Because, you know, their only response is, you need to do your homework, or you need to educate yourself, or another favorite one of mine is, hey, look at this link I'm sending you that proves I'm right. You know, and it's like, what are you doing? You know, because essentially if you did the same thing, you know what they did, you know what they're going to do. They're going to shit all over it. You know, like, it's like I said, you know, everybody else's proof is golden, and the proof that you have to retort and rebut some things is shit. And that just never is going to change as long as the internet exists, I think.
Yeah, I mean, now I'm guilty of all of those things too. I've told a few people to do their homework, but I guess I felt like I had done my homework, and if they had done theirs, then this would be a much more interesting conversation. You know, like the lady who, you know, attacked me over Stephen Greer or whatever. I'm just like, you know, you can, in 10 minutes is all the time it takes for you to at least figure out that he's probably the least trusted person in the UFO field. So, I mean, it doesn't take long to figure out, you know, check a couple of sites, check above top secret, you know, Google some things, check UFO Watchdog, and you get a pretty good idea of who this guy is. So the fact that somebody is out there supporting the man is just amazing to me.
Well, yeah.
Have you been reading?
Well, no, these are the folks that defend him the most. And, you know, I got a guy in what I like to call the Mind Cemetery think tank. And I'm really, you know, I'm ready to anoint you into the think tank as well there, Danny, just for the vigilance you're keeping here on this. But Shepard Johnson is a guy that you should know and be in with him in good graces, because he's definitely no dope, and he blew open the stupid Roswell slides mummy thing. He's taken pictures, and we've seen what exactly goes on in these CE5 meetings that Greer has, and it's basically a sky watching group, and he just sits back and points a laser pointer in the sky and says, that's a UFO, that's a UFO, that's a UFO, that's a UFO, and we're all channeling them here, and they're here dancing for us. So, you know, when you go to these, I like to call them the Greer UFO fantasy camps, you know, that he holds his CE5, because they always go out in the woods somewhere, you know, so I call it the UFO fantasy that he involves these people. And a lot of the times they come out of that, and by the way, they do have to sign non-disclosure agreements when they go to these fantasy camps, which in and of itself, from someone that screams for disclosure, should be setting off some alarms for people. But again, it absolutely doesn't, because they feel like they're they're learning something exclusive. You know, they're getting personal attention from Dr. Greer and all this stuff, and I know what his house is like from what I heard as well. It's not this farm that he talks about. It's not this big spread out. Basically there's there's cattle that hangs out on that property next to him, and he considers that his farm. By the way, he has claimed to have solar panels on his roof, right? The whole free energy gag that he does every once in a while. Because he plays Wheel of Stupid when it comes to, things he'd like to talk about, whether it be disclosure or free energy or, the Atacama, mummy, being or whatever the hell that is he wants to pull out of his hat every once in a while. But yeah, that's the thing that is funny is that he doesn't have solar panels on his house like he claims. He doesn't live on a farm or any of that kind of garbage. He does none of that. But what he does do is make quite a hefty sum from these UFO fantasy camps. And I'm thinking, he does about, I forget what the prices were, but last time I checked, it was like $300,000 a year. He makes off the UFO fantasy camp somewhere in that ballpark, and I think I did those numbers a couple years ago based on those rates. So it may have increased by then, by this point. So yeah, $300,000 it isn't a bad haul. and when
no, not at all.
When he gives you his self-righteous, I used to be a doctor thing, and I gave that up for this, you kind of understand why. Because it's much more lucrative doing a UFO fantasy camp than it is, actually helping people's health and well-beings. So, yeah, Stephen Greer, when you see the defenders for them, you'll see a specific pattern in their responses to your attacks, and I just call them attacks because, screw it. I don't have a better word off the top of my head for them. It's not meant to say, we're out there beating him over the head with a stick, even though we'd like to, I'd more than like to do that. I'd love to see that happen and tell him, well, maybe those aliens can help you heal yourself, because you have that special relationship with them. I mean, you should be able to withstand a few blows to the skull. No, I don't endorse beating Greer over the head. Just in euphemisms, just metaphorically. Let's put it that way. All right. So.
Well, you'd never get past his Black Ops security guards.
Right. That is a classic. That's a classic Greer moment of the Black Ops. Hey, I have security with me, and they're security because they're wearing a shirt that tells you, and all that kind of super secret, which is zero logic again. But what you'll see in the pattern of these people is a lot of these folks that defend Greer are people that have been to his fantasy camps. Okay, they have gone repeatedly. Within those fantasy camps, there are what I like to call upgrades. Where you can buy one-on-one sessions, type of thing for like $300. You can get an hour with Stephen Greer. We're talking that kind of price range. So when you really add
He's
in
a
all
hooker.
the yes, essentially he is Fred Garvin, male prostitute.
Oh yes, that's. Can you help me with my trusses here?
Yeah, can you get this off where I got to get to work? So a lot of those folks that have bought in deeper and deeper, much like Scientology, will defend it more and more, and you will see them come back at you with witty retorts that really don't address any of your commentary, because it's always a one-way conversation with a lot of these sociopaths. I'm sure you've seen that in updates alone with a lot of people. They just want to get out what they gotta say, and be damned what you have to say, because again, what you have to say is shit, because you're uneducated, right? And you haven't done your quote unquote research. That's another killer for me because, if anything, the Cinco de Mayo Roswell slide debacle taught me is that no one's doing real research. Nobody. None of these frauds are doing any of it because they essentially, sat back and told you in the aftermath that they didn't do any research of that whole thing. But with the Greer folks, you're definitely going to see a set pattern in their responses. They're always going to be pleasant and polite, and they're taught that, to make you look like the bad guy for asking real questions. It's all by design. And there was a while I went through, like I'd run into different ones that would support Greer, but they would literally be responding to me like it was from a script. And I would get the same, links and all that stuff, in the same order of response, too. It was really weird. So there's definitely a set pattern with those folks in CE5. And one of the worst right now that I've run into is that idiot Joseph Burks. I guess Dr. Joseph Burks. I don't know what the hell he's a doctor of. I don't know who the hell would give him a doctorate in anything other than, I don't know, growing a plant. I don't know. A doctor in growing a plant, he says. That doesn't make sense. But a doctorate in sweeping floors, I guess he could have. But yeah, he just switched to pulling that garbage because I'd seen him post over and over and over, all over the place. And then, we just started seeing this Greer stuff, and I'm like, wait a minute. I remember seeing him posting, semi-reasonable things. Things that at least wouldn't get me saying, what the fuck, right away.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, boom, here's Greer. And I'm like, first of all, in the updates page, this shouldn't even be a topic that is on this board at all. That should have been erased by Papa Smurf immediately, but it isn't. And I know you had told me earlier that you had got a warning from him about your language, and I thought, well, I pretty much, went off the leash here, a while back in my language on there, and I didn't get. I was just straight up F you, and you're an effing idiot, and I'm sick of this BS, and, just tearing it, right about the time I was like, you know what, I'm done for a little while. I've had it, and, I went no mercy style on him, from the Cobra Kai dojo. And, so when you got that, I was like,
your
okay.
Your 80s references are awesome.
They're definitely on point. Well, when you live in a bubble with no one else to entertain but yourself, and you kind of have to have fun. You kind of have to laugh at your own jokes sometimes, which I'm sure some people find absolutely annoying, which I don't blame them. I would too. I'd turn me off too. This guy offers nothing good. That's another thing that I saw. I've had that thrown at me in that group, where you offer nothing important to this conversation and all this stuff, and I'm like, who the hell are you? Shut up, you idiot. What do you think we're discussing here? World peace, So I hadn't gotten that warning, but I got it early on when I was hammering people like you were. So don't worry, that's just all a part of the natural process, essentially.
He deleted one of my posts, and it was kind of it was not purely Bigfoot related. I know he's got a rule about don't post non-UFO stuff. So it was basically just, it was because I had heard a KGRA broadcast that was, the most insane combination of Bigfoot and UFO stuff I'd ever heard, to the point where, I know there's people who say they go hand in hand, and who am I to judge, but the story I was listening to was, I was at work and trying not to fall on the floor laughing. And so I had made a post about it, and then my post gets deleted, and I'm like, seriously? But then I reposted about it, and basically, some people were like, well, why not? And, so I already upset the Bigfoot loves UFOs people. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'm sure mermaids are next or something.
Oh, Man, you will
I'm
not
working on my
find,
mermaid ink.
yeah, you will not find a bigger, a bigger hive of scum and villainy than you will in Bigfoot land. Those people are very territorial and they love to part and parcel out everything. Like you even saying that Bigfoot goes hand in hand with UFOs would outrage a faction in the Bigfoot community. Like saying Bigfoot is anything other than a living, breathing flesh being that roams in the forest will get you run out on a rail. If you say he has any supernatural abilities or anything interdimensional or anything like that, again, run out on a rail. There's so many idiotic factions within Bigfoot land. It's ridiculous, and every one of them love pissing on each other. So those folks are, not only the worst in that aspect, but like just ethically, I think they're really some of the worst too. Because I had a GoFundMe account to help out my cousin because she was a single mother dealing with cancer, right? So I posted it everywhere. I didn't give a shit. I'm not going to give two fucking flying shits about your stupid ass requirements or rules to your stupid fucking Facebook page when there's an actual human being that needs some help, And the only people that gave me shit were Bigfoot page people. And I flat out told them, and I talked about it a couple months, like last month when I did a show, and I blew I put their names out there in the show, and I said, these pieces of shit, aren't even human enough to allow something like that on their fucking page because God knows, the Bigfoot Facebook page needs to be kept clean of any distractions, So that stuff really pissed me off. So that's what really cemented it for me in the crypto versus paranormal and UFO world. Like, those people are the worst, bar none. When you talk about your Bigfoot UFO thing on KGR Stupid, was that with Kawani Lepertitis, I think his name is?
I wish I could tell you. I was losing my mind. I vaguely remember a guy talking about going on a camping trip and trying to basically psychically attract a Bigfoot, but then he had all kinds of nightmares about a giant Bigfoot coming to get him in his dreams. And of course, instead of just saying to himself, hey, I'm preoccupied with Bigfoot and that, caused me to have a bad dream, just like, you can have a fight with your wife and have a dream about splitting up. Well, if you think about Bigfoot all day long, you could have a dream about, a giant Bigfoot coming to get you, but instead it was, interdimensional Bigfoot psychically projecting himself into his dreams. I was
manipulating his mind.
I'm just like, for a creature that sits in the woods, it's, it's got some pretty amazing.
Right. He's quite sophisticated for a woodland dwelling creature. Yeah, there's many things with Bigfoot that I don't. I'm sorry. Kawani Lepertitis. If you ever get a chance to check him out, Jeff Pritchett, Church of Mavis, did an interview with him a few years ago. His story is interdimensional Bigfoot giving him back massages and him leaving out candy and muffins and all this other stuff for Bigfoot. So it's really just, an insane idea.
That's Brokeback Bigfoot right there.
Oh my God, that's an awesome name for a Bigfoot show with Kawana in it. Just Brokeback Bigfoot. My God, that's gold right there. You struck gold. You struck Bigfoot gold in them there hills.
Yep, exactly. That's and there's details of that story we don't want to know. That's all I'm saying.
Right, exactly, and so. Kawani would definitely be someone I would have on for entertainment purposes just because it's so damn weird and ridiculous. You just gotta hear this craziness for itself. But yeah, I've had plenty of those kind of podcasts where I've listened and been like, what the hell is it? Terry Ray is one of them with MUFON. I think, I don't know if you were talking about it, but people were talking about Terry.
I had a post on him.
Yeah, obsession with orbs. Yeah, he did a show a while back with Steve Hudgens, and I remember listening to it, and I've tried to get up with Shep and be like, oh my God, you got to hear this, tune in now, kind of thing. So we always go back and forth whenever we kind of hear something crazy going on. We let each other know so we can jump in and listen and laugh at it and everything. And the way they do the interviews with these folks is just, Steve Hudgens sounded like he was completely uninterested with everything, first of all, or just unaware with what the hell was going on in the conversation. And that bozo, man, I can't stand him for nothing either, because he's about the most self-righteous jerk-off out there, too. He's in a crew with Steve Fermanti, if you ever run into that mush-brained idiot. That's another world-class dope from the East Coast that I had another run-in today with him, by the way. I posted, and he's like, oh, hey, how you doing, Chip? And I said, I'm doing fine, thank you, Steve, since he was being nice, and all this stuff. And then he asked, well, how you been, and all this stuff. I said, well, okay, went through it and say, yeah, thanks for asking. And then I go eat dinner, and I come back. This is tonight. And I come back, and I'll shoot you the link to it later here. Well, actually,
okay.
Maybe right now in the magical internets here. Yeah, it's in Chemtrails Kill. So, of course, I'm just spamming this stupid page for the show. Here we go. Nope. Let me do that. So he then goes on to like this massive diatribe about how, here, I'm shooting it to you now on Facebook. That's just to the actual chemtrails page. It's on the top there. He just, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 comments he made then after I did, right? And he said, I said, oh, I'm going to have you on. You're a bit of a hellraiser, which interests me, and it also interests me, the backlash that you've gotten for being that hellraiser. He says, oh, best of luck, Trip. So you were a hellraiser all along just to get reaction? He's slow in the head, so he types like I'm an idiot too, and I kind of feel bad even saying that, because like me and Shep and everybody else is like, I think the man has a learning disability. And I said it a long time ago, and I'll keep saying it every time I talk about Steve Fermanti. If Steve Fermanti has a learning disability, someone needs to tell me, okay? Because I will just stop making fun of him then, because that's not cool, all right? So if he actually does have a problem, let me know, because as I'm taking it right now, he's just an idiot asshole, and I'm going to treat him as such. So there's that. So he just went on, and you need to call me tomorrow, and that how's your relation with your god, Jeffrey? He's talking about Jeffrey Pritchett, who,
I'm reading that right now.
Yeah, listen to this. This is crazy. And then he's talking about, I'm a follower, call me tomorrow. You and your buddy have my number. I don't have your number, Steve Fermanti. Jesus Christ. I don't have your fucking number. Okay, you, actually, until today, I forgot you existed. I mean, that's how good life is that, you're completely not a blip on my radar until you respond to one of my posts, Yeah, do you seriously think I would let this go? You cost me a relationship. You cost me a relationship. Now, I'll elaborate on that, because we're coming up at the top of the hour here. This is going to have to go in deeper. And then he says, I hope it's been better for you with your mom, which my mom's been deceased for about 5 years. So I find that interesting he would bring that up. And that's fine. Hey, go for it, dude. If you think you can come at me and touch a nerve with that, you do you, man. You do you. But yeah, defamation case, and all that kind of stuff. And I kind of took a line from the new True Detective. I welcome judgment in that aspect there, pal. But we are at the top of the hour. Unfortunately, first hour goes fast because I do a lot of talking. Sorry. We will get you in there more, Danny, in the next half, and we will be talking about this stupid post here and the relationship that I cost him. He says, because you're going to want to hear that one. That's a good one out there, and I've told it many times. And this whole defamation thing really doesn't have much legs to it, because most dumb people don't understand what it actually would take for a defamation or a slander case to be brought to court. But hey, they sound good. Type words, sometime post happens, right, Steve? Anyway, we'll get out of here. Joe Montaldo, take us away. We'll be back in about 7-8 minutes here. Go get your drinks. Go do your potty break. Go do whatever break you got to do to get you through to the next hour here. Taliban Joe, take us away. All right, we are back for hour number 2, and I did a whole lot of talking during the break, unfortunately, and talking the ear off of Danny Miller, who is our guest tonight. He is a frequent poster on the UFO Updates page on Facebook, which I highly suggest all of you get the hell out there and get on that page, because it is, and I don't know, Danny, what do you think? In my opinion, I think UFO Updates is one of the more reasonable UFO Facebook pages out there.
Well, it's definitely, I think reasonable is a good example. There's definitely some people on there that are, a little nutty.
Right.
But the big thing that I've noticed is that if you want your voice to matter at all, it's a good place to be. I mean, almost all of the, UFO celebrities, major and minor, pop in and out. We got Bruce Maccabee as a member.
Yep.
We got a number of the hosts of KGRA.
Yep.
I'm sure. I mean, there's people that are bouncing in and out. We got Ritzman. We got Race. We got a couple other people. So I mean, that to me just shows that the people who are getting any attention at all are following this site. And then when you get private messages from radio hosts who've been watching your posts or whatnot, and I didn't realize at the time that I was basically being checked out to see what I knew and what my opinions were. But it's been pretty interesting thus far. The people I've been able to talk to, and I found Bruce Maccabee lives friggin' an hour from me. I may go see if he'll entertain my company for a few hours one day.
No kidding. He lives near you?
He lives in Lima, and I live in Dayton.
Okay.
It's just a little ways up the freeway and on 75 there.
Yep.
I think it's about an hour and 15 minutes.
That ain't bad at all.
I'd like to meet him. I think he's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's very definitely level-headed and doesn't get into the fray because it's pointless.
Yeah.
But there's
I do. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, man.
I was just going to say he's done some really good work with the. Although I heard it on Dolan, and my feelings are mixed about him, but he did have a good interview on there, and I do think it's fascinating that every few years the CIA comes out and says, hey, by the way, the great UFO wave of the 1950s was us testing the U-2 spy plane. But Bruce is basically, he's looked, all the information for the most part is declassified. They know when the flights were, where they were. They flew most of them out of Turkey anyway. They disassembled the plane, flew it to Turkey or boated it to Turkey, whatever the hell they did, and then reassembled it, and then they flew the flights to Russia through Turkey. So, there's really no basis for them saying that all of these flights, caused the UFO wave of the 1950s. And in fact, when you do the math, the first month they flew the U-2, there was a slight increase, and then it went down from there. And there's a net average over a 10-month period where the UFO numbers were the same. Not to mention the fact that the UFO reports of the 1950s were craft, performing amazing feats. And the U-2 was not an amazing plane, other than it flew high. It was the highest flying plane at the time. But it didn't perform a bunch of aerial maneuvers. If you saw the damn thing, you would have seen a glint in the sky. That's it. It wasn't exceptionally fast. It wasn't exceptionally maneuverable. It most of its flights were a straight line, its missions.
Yep.
And Bruce can tear that stuff apart pretty well, and that's what he does in his books, is he kind of, he takes that stuff apart, and it's like, nice try, CIA.
Yeah.
And I enjoy that aspect about him.
Yeah, I like to call it night.
Exactly.
The U2 was nothing but high and straight is all it did. So yeah, you're dead right about that. When people start talking about fantastic maneuvers and all that kind of stuff, that ain't the U2. That's for damn sure. So pick another plane, everybody.
No.
Pick another one that doesn't
exactly.
exist. So.
Yeah, and that's part of my journey too. Is I'm finding out. A lot more about these planes that we've had. And if you think about it, some of the capabilities of the FR-71 are still classified to this day, and that's basically 1950s, 1960s technology. So you got to kind of think in the past 60 years, they probably got some pretty crazy stuff out there. So there's really. And now that we've got the drones, frankly, and I think the drones have been around a lot longer than we were. I think you can attribute a lot of Mexican UFOs to drone activity. And I shared that video of the drone that they were talking about on the Gralien report, the quadcopter that could literally be from ground to stratosphere in a few seconds. We have to look at UFO cases differently now. The one thing that Micah Hanks said that I absolutely agree with is that old UFO cliche of, it did things that our craft can't do, or, it performed with capabilities that we don't have. Those days are over.
Right.
We have to be even more staunch about our UFO reports. We have to have something better than just, we saw this thing do a couple of weird maneuvers.
I'm glad you mentioned Micah, because I do enjoy Micah. I just have some observations and opinion about him. I think he tries too hard, first of all, and I think that he is definitely trying to be a younger next version of Richard Dolan. He takes a lot of cues from him, from what I've seen at least. Now, I don't know what your opinion is of him on those aspects, but that's just from what I've seen, looking at him long term and seeing the effort he puts into things. He definitely tries real hard, and I don't know what to think about that sometimes. When I see people try too hard, it's like, and some of it, in some aspects, I respect the passion, I respect the drive and the motivation, and and the other aspect of it is, dude, if it ain't working, and why are you still doing it? You know what I mean? If you can't just be natural and be you as you do something that you love and you're passionate about and interested in, then it just seems artificial to me. It just seems manufactured. It comes off as trying too hard. But that's just me, and it took me a while to come to that conclusion. So. I haven't listened to it. I haven't been listening to his station very long, but he's one of the ones that I'll listen to his entire right.
show, just because he's skeptical enough that he doesn't drive me crazy, and
right.
And that's kind of his shtick, the skepticism. Although he seems to pretty quickly go from skeptic to believer, but he also brings good cases on the show and asks about good cases. And he's pretty quick to call BS on some stuff, which I really appreciate about the guy. Because a lot of the other hosts just sit there and just say, "Oh, amazing, that's like our science person, whatever."
And being a person that does sometimes say, "Oh yes," and whatever, and let people ramble, that's just being lazy. That's all that is just you're putting it on autopilot. I've had plenty of guests on that I knew, okay, well, this person can just make it happen, and all I have to say is a few words. So yeah, that's a reality. That happens a lot of the times, whether they like it or not. Now some people may not, some of these hosts may not be doing it long enough to understand what the hell they're doing, and who they're booking. But yeah, there's definitely some good talkers out there that can fill some time just great if you want to slap it on autopilot, So if you want to just pump out content, then there it is. And that's kind of my thing with the Daily Show folks. you really got to put it on autopilot a lot, and when you do that, man, there no soul, no heart in it, in my opinion. So at that point, then why are you doing it? Once a week is, I'm cool in the gang with once a week, okay? I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of content for 2, 3, 4 shows, maybe 5, but at that point you need, a team of people to help you out finding people. You have to, just deal with people, and I really kind of just don't like dealing with people, sometimes. So that's why I duck out every once in a while. I'm like, I don't want to do it. I just don't want to do it, But yeah, he is one of the better listens out there, that's for damn sure, and he has done a lot of standing on his own for a very long time. But yeah, he has attached himself to the wagon that is, or the Titanic that is, the KG and Boss Hogs there.
Well,
so
let's call it what it is. I mean, let's call it what it is. It's the Richard Dolan channel. It's Richard Dolan and Friends, Richard Dolan and the Rascals. Think of a name. If Richard Dolan was going to have a band, it'd be Richard Dolan and that's what the station is. I mean, heck, several people have basically, privately told me that's the case.
Yep.
It's Richard keeps us afloat.
Yep.
And the rest of us are to fill in. You got a couple of them that look okay, so they look good on the Facebook posts, and a couple of them with sweet little soothing voices, and I mean, that's really it. I mean, if Dolan quit tomorrow, they would be SOL. I mean, they'd have to. Yeah. I mean, I don't know who they'd have to hire, because he's it, right? He's the Elvis of the whole world right now. I mean,
pretty much. Jimmy Church is trying hard to be the late night Elvis now, so that guy is busy trying to do the late night gag of it. So I feel much conflict inside there, if you know what I mean. There's a couple stars butting heads whether they want to show their cards or not, but I know egos and I know people, and I know that those two are probably like oil and water to a certain point, and it is a mutual relationship where as long as both of them know they don't rock the boat, then everything's cool. But I don't really expect any boat rocking out of those two folks. That's for damn sure. And just for the record, we are not in the same room, so I didn't have a gun to Danny's head to say that. Okay? I'm thrilled that you did that on your own unprovoked,
Well,
because,
I mean, I've got some, I mean, it tells, I mean, the story tells itself. I mean, it really does. I mean, they all mention him almost in every episode. I mean, it's like they are constantly reminding you that Richard Dolan's around somewhere. That's like they want you. They're all in one building, and Richard Dolan's roaming the halls, checking on them, and he's somewhere wearing a smoking jacket and sipping a cognac, and he's around if we need him.
It's a fresh take on
that's the impression.
Yeah, and he does his little, it's a fresh take on UFOs and national security state, and, just go to hell, with your total sheep and wolf in sheep's clothing is what he is. That son of a bitch, man, is such a two-face, and he goddamn knows it, I know for a fact he is. And the part that upsets me about Richard is the part where he sat and said on his show post the Cinco de Mayo fallout, where he was shucking and jiving saying, well, I didn't say that and I didn't mean that and I didn't endorse anything. Newsflash, if you get paid to show up somewhere on stage and discuss a topic, you are endorsing it. Do you think I'm fucking stupid? You must, well, first of all, a lot of your fans are fucking stupid, so they're going to believe that shit. But me and you, anybody else with a few brain cells to fucking rub together know what an endorsement is. And it's exactly what we saw on Cinco de Mayo. The standing on stage talking about, well, this isn't a mummy, which he said it wasn't a mummy, based off the stupid-ass analysis that he got off of assholes like Richard Doble, who
couldn't tell the difference between a dog and a cat, in my opinion, because he was busy sitting there saying there's 14 ribs, and he's counting all the ribs and the 15 bones in the hand. Man, how the hell? You're just making it up, dude. You're just making it up. But, yeah, there were some major wagons that got circled around Dolan by that station. Boss Hogs was leading the wagons there. If you go back and listen to that show, they had it up free for a long time up on that site, and I managed to grab a lot of good cuts off that because I was going to do a Dolan show where I talk about all his personal escapades on the book and lecture tour, of which he decided to say that it was vicious lies and rumor and innuendo and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, someday we're going to be in the same place at the same time, and I'm going to ask you to call me a liar to my face. And I'm going to show you the conversation that I had with someone very close with you, Richard. The pictures. I'm going to ask you again to call me a liar to my face. And it's going to be trouble. It's going to be rough. Something tells me you're not going to do that. Something tells me you're going to ask for security to help you out.
Hopefully Greer's Black Ops boys are with him.
Hot diggity dog damn, we've got a job for this Black Ops. We got a job for them.
Exactly. And David Wilcox can loan his bomb-sniffing dog.
He can lock the doors on us.
Yes,
all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that train is a coming still. Don't think I forgot about doing all that and the information that was gathered from that process. Because when I hear someone vehemently deny something, when I see smoke, I look for that fire, and I found it. And there are UFO Social on Twitter. You can check him out at UFO Social. Real simple. He's got some interesting things to say about Dolan and what he did to his family. He's also got a website.
I'm not on Twitter, but I'll see if I can find it on the net.
Oh, there you go. The Twitter machine, as I call it. Yeah, I didn't jump on Twitter until I got into doing more sports-related stuff. That's for sure. But yeah, man, I got hot when he did that because post that Cinco de Mayo show, I managed to get on Coast to Coast, and Richard was the first hour guest, and he was doing his hot off the press, hot off the speaking engagement and all that kind of stuff, right? And he had some bozos up there before, and I asked a few questions, all of which didn't get answered, and I said I'm Chip from Raleigh, so he knew who I was. Let's put it that way. When I got through there, he sure as hell, he may claim he didn't know just so he can try to talk down to me or minimize it or whatever he needs to do to get by at night or sleep well at night, whichever. I asked him how much he got paid to show up, if he'd ever seen, I forgot what the other questions are, if he'd seen the pictures beforehand, and why didn't he do any research and all that kind of stuff. And George Norrie came running to his defense. You don't have to answer about the payment and all that stuff. And then he says, well, it was just a small honorarium. Man, so shut up. Just shut up some more. I'm supposed to believe that a man who's making his living at telling UFO stories didn't get paid to go to Mexico City. You did that for free, right, Richard? You did that for damn near nothing? Okay.
The single most inexcusable thing to me is that, yeah, I know it's supposed to be this big reveal and whatnot, but I mean, if Richard Dolan is the premier UFO researcher, he shouldn't have been putting himself in that situation. I mean, that's
Correct.
all there is to it. And
Correct.
And my guess, some other people were invited, some Roswell experts, let's call them. Maybe you're Stanton Friedman or something. Like nobody got Stanton on the phone.
Well, the story with that is, yes, you're correct. The story with that is they did try to contact Stanton. He refused. They tried to get Bryce Zabel involved. Bryce Zabel told the bozo that was running that show, Adam Dew, if you want to do this right, I've got my Hollywood connections, because he's involved with Dark Skies and all that other stuff. Bryce Zabel's a stand-up guy too. He spilled all the beans, post all that stuff. He had done a great job of mapping out who they talked to, when they talked to him, and went down the line. Once Bryce Zabel and Adam Dew didn't want to release any the photos to Zabel to shop around to his Hollywood type friends, and that was Zabel's epiphany moment, to say, I'm getting the hell away from this. And he basically said so much as, I'm glad I didn't hook him up with my people in LA, because it would have ruined my reputation. So saved by common sense, but the reason then Dolan was asked was because of Bryce Zabel's writing of which book was it? I forget, and I should know it off the top of my head. But when you have a certain disdain for some folks, you kind of forget their work. It wasn't UFOs in the National Security State. Wait, was it? Maybe one of those books.
Well, he's got 2 volumes, and then he's got the new book, the 21st Century Mind, or whatever.
Right, that shit show of a Monty Python cover. Yeah, the brain dead genius behind that.
That's a good description.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's definitely a bad Monty Python cover, that's for sure. But Bryce had written, not Day After or something like Disclosure. It was some stupid book. I'm sitting here with a computer in front of me, and I'm not even looking up anything like a moron, so After Disclosure, there we go. Sorry, a little bit of Google there. So he wrote After Disclosure with Dolan, Zabel did. So after Zabel pulled out, Freeman pulled out, then they went to Dolan. Then they went to Jaime Maussan to take it south of the border, see. So that's kind of the natural progression. I think there was another individual in there that I forgot about, but I'm giving the Cliff Note version of it, of course, because Christ knows this could be a 4-hour show on the stupid-ass timeline of the Roswell debacle slide festival. But, yeah, so that was their logical conclusion.
Jaime's a bad enough sign.
Yeah. Right. See, there's another moment where... Dolan suspends his common sense to get in bed with Jaime Maussan like he thought that'd be cool and nobody would care. Well, he took a bigger hit than he's letting on, to the point where he had to do an entire show post, that whole reveal, defending himself and his actions. He even did it so slimy to the point where he waited until my show was on and that second hour of his show to really say the vicious rumor and innuendo and say some nasty crap about Jeff Pritchett and myself. And that just may be my ego thinking it's directed at us, but it's awfully familiar. It seems like his rebuttal to our commentary is pretty much right on track with what we were saying. So 2 + 2 is 4 still. So yeah, that was an interesting one. And in that episode, too, was when you got to see Boss Hoggs show his rather large rear end on that show, because he was busy, playing down about how we're just, all great here at the K, and, we all support each other, and, well, I'm real disappointed in a lot of people that have functioning brains, and, well, Jeff Ritzman was in the chat room asking questions, right? And before all that, he's like, well, we try to keep it respectful. And then all of a sudden, once Ritzman started asking questions, old Hoggs blew a gasket and started getting upset, calling him a punk ass. And you get out of my chat room with your punk ass. And you lost your voice here at the K and all this stuff. And, he's like, well, I did some work, I did some work for him and all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, you were paid for that. Ritzman made a point to mention you got paid, so shut up about doing work for somebody when you got paid, you idiot. And then, so that's when it came out that I started getting back in and having conversations with Jeff Ritzmann about things, and he basically let the cat out of the bag, saying, "Well, you really don't know the half of what a piece of trash this guy is, and how he treats people behind the scenes who he no longer seems to have a use for." So one reoccurring theme there, though, to support that was I remember the Paradigm Symposium debacle a couple years ago where Lauren Cutts and Scotty Roberts, which I like both those guys, Eric Von Daniken showed up and was upset. Yeah, I got a good story about Eric, too, by the way. You probably didn't know. And not a lot of people do know about it, but 100% true, too. He was there with a strapping young manservant and demanding his speaker's fee and all that. You like the strapping young manservant there?
Well,
yeah, I
don't know.
like calling it that.
I mean, that was funny. I mean, I also picture him like, snorting Zacharias Sitchin's ashes. So that's what I could imagine.
Yeah, so Eric has the same taste that old James Randi did, let's put it that way. Or does, because James is still alive. But he was demanding his payment and wouldn't go on stage and all that stuff, and threw a big fit. Well, it was after that we saw them split from Hogs and the K, and they aren't, because they were like, they helped him start it up pretty much. Lauren Cutts and Scotty Roberts and Chase Kletsky, they all were in together to start this thing. And then once that happened, you saw Hogs try, separate himself from those two. And that's about the time when Dolan was brought in. They were replacing with big names, so he didn't have a use for them anymore. And he didn't really... And I haven't gotten the background story on what's going on there, but I'm assuming, that the half of what I don't know had a little something to do with that going on there. Eric Von Daniken, back at him real quick. If you didn't know, he is a convicted felon who did time in, I can't remember if it was Sweden or like the Netherlands or Denmark.
Gotcha.
Or it's one of those countries over there that he was a part of course, or was living in, of course.
Scandinavia.
Right. Let's just keep it easy, right? He got thrown in jail, I know for sure once, I think twice, for hotel, motel management, embezzlement type stuff. And while in jail, the first time around, for his offenses, that's when he wrote Chariots of the Gods. Jailbird wrote a book in jail. And that you can definitely Google and look up, and it won't take you too long to see that he is, yes, that is definitely all true, and that people like to overlook those minor details about his life. But, in the Mutual Adoration Society and Book and Lecture Tour, he's a great man.
Exactly.
So, yeah, there's that whole debacle there. Let's see. When we go, if you want to go back to the Roswell Slides thing with Masson and all the high signs that you, me, and everybody else with working eyes and brain saw a mummy, right? And
yeah.
So Richard Dolan's a historian, and my biggest single statement that I can make to get through to him and his terms on how he may understand something is that for a historian growing up in the 80s, when it comes to the Roswell Slides debacle, he can best be summed up as not heeding Saint Ronald Reagan's advice, and I say that all the time, laughing at people that Saint Reagan him. But and I don't know what your political affiliation. You can tell me to go to hell on that statement if you'd like. I'm fine with it.
No, I think he's an international criminal that's considered one of the best presidents in the world. I'll never understand it, but go on.
Right. One of the biggest tenets that Reagan had in the Cold War was trust but verify. And a historian from the Cold War period did not verify shit. So
agreed.
I don't get how this man can still pawn himself off as a researcher, an investigator, or a scholar at this point. Because you are none of the above. Because of what you did there. And the money, then the cash grab that it was. Let's be honest, okay? Straight up cash grab, and he wanted to attach himself to the Roswell story somehow, and this was his in, and it backfired big time. Now with Jaime, in the post-atmosphere, he was big on the attack on the Roswell Research Group's analysis of the placard and all that good stuff. Remember when everybody said that was photoshopped and the Roswell Research Group faked that? Boss Hoggs over at the K was a proponent of that idea, by the way, in the first week post and in his defense of Dolan and all that kind of stuff. So it's funny, too, watching Boss Hogg trip over his own blubber when he goes out and says things or does things online, because it's fun watching him retract and recede a little while. Now, he likes to come out and play for me. He likes to come out on updates like you've seen where he calls me Chipster.
Yeah, I saw that.
And he called James Carrion Jamie and all that kind of stuff. And I almost commented on there. I said, his name's James, but I understand, with the greasy chicken fingers, sometimes they slip on the keyboard. I was gonna say something like that in response to his big fat ass, but I thought, never mind. He's trolling. He's trying to get me jacked up so he can get sick Papa Smurf on me, and say, see, he's a bad person and he's being nasty. You got to get rid of these meanies, and that's exactly what these people act like. Well,
dude, that's if I can interject there. I mean, the theme over the past few weeks on almost all of the shows is that there's all these mean people on the message boards and on Facebook, and they're just being immature and irresponsible, and we need to get rid of those people. And I'm just thinking, you're clearly talking about people like me. You're talking about people like me that are holding your feet to the fire.
Right.
If you're gonna tell me a story, make it a good one and have something to back it up. Now I know we're talking about UFOs, so I mean, I'm not expecting miracles, but I mean, some of these stories and the people you're putting on the radio station are just, they're not just ridiculous, they're insulting to the UFO community, frankly, some of these people.
Well,
and it's like, if you're going to a carnival and grabbing any gypsy and pulling her in and having her read you a crystal ball, you have lost all credibility. And that's essentially what they're doing a lot of the time.
Losing credibility for the sake of providing content. That's all it is.
Exactly.
Is they are content providers. And that's what they don't get, is what you can change your, what it's turned into is just content providing. I will tell you, though, that the main meanie that they are discussing and that they talk about is, or at least one of, is Paul Kimball and most of the Roswell Research Group. That's, I almost called him Phil Collins. Wait, is that, no, it's not, I forget his first name. But yeah, Collins, Giles, Red Pill Junkie. I know he comes on as his real name on Facebook, but Red Pill Junkie's what his blogger name is. Who else? Not Roger Marsh, but Jack Brewer, is another good one out there that holds these suckers' feet to the fire. Mysterio, Greg Bishop. There you go.
Oh yeah.
Lance Moody. You know, these are the folks that they're trying to label, meanies, as well as like me and Pritchett and you and Shepard. You know, we're like, they don't want to acknowledge us, you know, as the same level as those guys. But secretly, I mean, let's face it, since we have an outlet and quite literally a microphone, we're just as much of a threat, if not more, you know, to get the word out against that kind of bullshit that they pawn off on you.
Well, when one of your radio hosts goes out of their way to private message you, well, first of all, friends you out of the blue, then private messages you, and then asks you all kinds of questions about your opinions and all of that. And honestly, I didn't think anything of it until you said something to me. I mean, why on earth would somebody just IM me out of the blue and talk to me for 2 hours and get my opinion on everything while dodging every question I ask?
Magically, right?
I mean, I could be wrong. I'd like to give that person the benefit of the doubt, and that's why I'm not saying their name out loud. But I mean, it was kind of making me wonder now. And especially when I had a post that was on one of their subjects, the orbs or whatever, and so now I'm thinking like, wow, that was, and I mean, not that, I mean, there's so much. I mean, the biggest thing for me lately is Rendlesham has been a big one for me. That's kind of where my post started. And then, the orbs are just a hilarious addition to things. I mean, not that I'm saying there aren't any cases, but when your chief investigator goes on the radio and says, well, the orange orbs, if you want to see one, they pop up a lot on the 4th of July. They like the fireworks. So after the finale, look for orange lights in the sky. And I'm just thinking, are you seriously telling people to look for illuminated objects in the sky on July 4th? Even if it's true, even if you feel like that's where the data, maybe you make it a footnote in your book, you should probably leave it off the radio, especially when his interview was falling apart. It was bad. And he wants every orange orb, in his opinion, he's pushing MUFON really hard to declare every orange orb on his criteria as, okay, well, that's an extraterrestrial vehicle. Well, yeah, we're not going to call every light in the sky that's orange an extraterrestrial vehicle. We're just not. It's not going to happen, so maybe you should quit pushing for it. And, I mean...
Nice. Yeah, the like I was saying, back in the whole Mason Fest where he had the bounty out for $5,000 and $10,000 for pictures and bodies and all that kind of stuff, which, if you're going to go ahead and put a $10,000 bounty out for a deceased mummy of a child, of course it's deceased, a mummy of a child, in my world, okay. You're right. In my world, you basically just put a bounty out for grave robbing, first of all. Let's keep it simple with that. And then when Shepard actually found the picture and gave it to and sent it in and said, okay, F you, pay me, it turned into this is inconclusivo scientifico, and all this kind of stuff. And right about that time, he came up with that picture and was shopping it out there to him and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, one of these little moles came out of their hole by the name of Erica Lukes and really started pumping him for a lot of information. And luckily, Shepard was used to these kind of things and used to that line of questioning. But it was real easy to figure out what her purpose was as the representative of the K at that point, which was to pump for information, to see what you know, and to do a threat assessment. What do you know? What outlets do you use? Who listens to you? And, how fast can this go viral against us? And that's pretty much what it is. And it's always, with Erica, she definitely came out of nowhere from Utah as the MUFON director, I believe, of MUFON, which used to be Elaine Douglas's stomping grounds before she left years ago. At least, oh man, I remember when there was the big split in MUFON. Jerry Pippin did. If you want to go and get an archive of an awesome show about MUFON and the dirty deeds done dirt cheap that they do, check out Jerry Pippin doing an interview with Elaine Douglas and Chase Kletsky. Within 2 weeks, Chase did 2 shows with Jerry. The first show was, rainbows, lollipops, and all that kind of stuff. The second show was, hey, wait a minute. There are STAR team investigations going on that I don't know about, and I'm on the STAR team, and there are cases coming up missing from the CMS system that they have. So, yeah, it got interesting, and Jerry Pippin's not around anymore, unfortunately, but you can hear both of them start naming names of who on the inside of MUFON, and those folks are still there, and they are on the board right now. They name names of who's greasy and who did what behind the scenes back then, and let's just say little has changed. It's still a good old boys network. Mr. Director of Investigations, Steve Hudgens, and his Yosemite Sam mustache, all 5'2" of him, still wants you to think he's the rootin' and tootin'est investigator around, and his claim to fame's the Stephenville Lights and all that kind of garbage, and I put that in the same basket with the Phoenix Lights, for God's sakes. But which, as we know, Lynn Kitey there won't stop telling us what an expert she is in that.
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
I watched her documentary and I almost had to kill myself in the middle of it. It was
yeah.
I mean, I thought Sirius was bad until I watched Lynn Kita, and I was like, and she's one of those people that's just, she's lost her effing mind.
Yep. Yeah, and that's, they preach to the choir. You always, there's some other things too out there, some running themes in ufology that you always have to check off, and you have to always check off. You have to feed the fear of the government and distrust of the government. Okay, to your base, you have to feed the class warfare thing to them. So the breakaway society and black ops and secret budgets and all that, you have to feed that, and
the detailed analysis of each one of those.
Right, exactly. My favorite Richard Dolan drinking game is every time he says detailed analysis, take a drink.
Yeah, you told me that, and I think I'm going to do
that. Pick any show and just run with it, because it'll be there. But yeah, there's certain things that have to be hit, because you have to remember a lot of these UFO fans are older white retirees, Republican base. You have to feed their fears of the government, and everybody's lying to you about UFOs, and we have the truth, and MUFON's just this awesome place where good things happen all the time, when it's really a pretty crappy nationally run organization. Just miserable people like that David McDonald who runs his Flights of Fancy Flamingo Air out of Cincinnati there. He's busy flying whorehouses. And I had Karen King sit and tell me that she didn't know any creepy old men in MUFON. And I said, well, how about David McDonald? He's a creepy old man. Oh, I didn't know about that. Yeah, do your research. Hi, I'm Chip, and sometimes I read things about people, and here's another thing I do sometimes. I don't take their word for it. Dealing in the criminal justice system in my professional life, I'm a big fan of documentation to back up what these folks are saying, okay? I'm funny like that, and what kills me most about a lot of the ufology group is that a lot of them have that same background. A lot of them are law enforcement background people. but yet somehow, some way, when it comes to the investigations of UFOs, they just throw that experience right out the window. It's like 90%, I mean, not 90%, but most of the investigative process when it comes to dealing with human beings is talking to people, and reading people's, emotions and reading their fucking, actions and their, mannerisms and everything. You got to pick up on these things. That's what makes good.
Yeah, I mean, that's
enforcement. Go ahead.
That's my, I mean, I know it's wrong to say you can judge a book by the cover, but I mean, there are certain UFO celebrities. Hal comes to mind for me. If anybody's read my post, they know how I feel about the good old LMH there. I mean, it takes me 5 minutes, and my brain says, "Bullshit, that shit crazy." That's my assessment. And I've watched all of her documentaries. I've heard her talk. And I've also gone on YouTube and listened to all of her coast to coasts and, her, the strange sounds, phenomenon. Right. And now she's posting even though these light beams with our cell phones have been completely debunked already, that's already on her website. And then that brings me around to what I call the full circle. That has to make you ask questions about Nick Pope and John Burroughs and Jim Penniston and Colonel Halt, and that makes you have to wonder when Richard Dolan references her as being a great researcher. Right. And from what I understand, she has broken a case or two. There's an oddball time where she's gotten lucky, but she's published more bullshit than she's done anything else. And she's been caught in numerous hoaxes. And she's now just she was. They identified those drones as a common theme of, I think, some sort of CGI program or video game or something. And she went and hired a film expert to say that they weren't CGI and that they're actually, there's color fringing right there that shows you that that's a real object in a picture. And then it's just like, and she was, I think, instrumental in Serpo, if I'm not wrong. She's been caught over and over selling BS.
She's even got Richard Doty action in there, man. Yeah, she goes deep. Oh, yeah. Richard Doty, yeah. She goes deep into being fooled for a very long time. Yeah, Linda's, when I really started sensing stupidity out of her, and it took me a while, was back when she did her, the first interview where they talked about the binary code from Rendlesham, when that was all broken. Yeah. And I was like, and then I was listening to Ritzman and his other, his co-host at the time, who can't see his penis because he's too fat, but, they did a pretty good job breaking that down, but he's the world's biggest rectum, and now he's busy sidling up to Strieber, which, Strieber and Howe and Masson did a nice little show where they tried to tell everyone that it was a big government's conspiracy and all that kind of stuff against him in the Roswell slides. So, yeah, that Burroughs, I trust Burroughs in the fact that when I keep going back to Penniston, go to hell, Halt, go to hell. Halt's busy stirring the shit pot on everybody. That's what Halt's job's always been. And he's been doing that against Larry for a very specific reason. I don't know if I told you, but I will here, and I've told it many times on here. But Burroughs is hypno-regression tape, makes hairs stand up on me, and that's a big dude too. He's like 6'4", and to see the terror in him and all that, I just think, man, this normal dude, normal guy, you just can't fake that kind of stuff to me. That fear that he was showing and all that kind of stuff, I real compelling to me, and the rest of it though is just window dressing. Halt's beef with Larry Warren. I don't know if you ever, you see that constant fight. But
I know that Halt's been doing everything in his power to defame the guy. To the point where, they're talking, what's his name? The investigator who's really good friends with Larry Warren he wants him to sue him.
Peter.
That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was big on Peter Robbins for a very long time. What I'm not big on him about is his support of Dolan, and he's very good friends with Dolan. And in the aftermath of all that, he pretty much said, I'm trying to make a living at this. So, look, just that can be all well and true. Just don't fucking say it, God damn it. Be smarter than that.
Well, I mean, he said, and I'd like to go to Mexico City and make a paycheck from doing this.
Yes,
he said
you
it
heard that
right in that interview. It was,
exactly.
Yeah,
when I heard that, I was like, God damn it, dude. I was like, come on, man. And I'm the one swinging the bat hardest for you and Larry. And here we go. And I had to hear that shit, and I was like, oh, fuck me. Here we go. But the reason Holt goes in on Larry so hard is that when Larry did his first interviews and the whistleblowing and all that kind of stuff, remember he was blacked out in his face and all that kind of stuff, there was a camera crew / research team that, and I don't know these folks' names, and I wish I did. I'm sure I could probably get it out of Larry if I talked to him. I've never interviewed Larry or Peter, and I love them a lot, and I love these guys. I think they're great. And like I said, it's the only that aspect of Peter that really made me cringe, just creepy, cringe-worthy hearing that kind of stuff out of me. I was like, damn it, come on. But I get it, it's the tour, and you gotta stay on it, and Richard's gonna get you a lot of gigs. So, but this crew went and found Charles Holt's home in Virginia, and was trying to get him to say, to talk to them. And they want to do interviews and all that kind of stuff, and documentary and so on. He refused. Didn't want anything to do with that. This group then got at his son. Bought his son some booze, got him drunk, pumped him for info, dumped him on Holt's front lawn. So, Charles blames Larry for that. And that, in my opinion, is the beginning of Holt and his undying hate for Larry, because the story affected his family personally. And I can understand that from Charles in that aspect, but it's misguided. He should keep his ire with the people that did that to his family, not with Larry for talking about it. So that is something that not a lot of folks know, but I like to talk about it a lot on here to get it out in the breeze, So,
gotcha.
So yeah, that's a little bit of the background there on that whole thing. So that's the ire of Charles Holt, and I don't know what the latest dust up with Rendlesham was, but I saw Sasha Christie flip her lid and call Larry a liar and all this other stuff. I used to be, pretty good in with Sasha, but in the last few years, it's really gone, crazy train out of control to the point where I'm, again, Paulie from Goodfellas, I got to turn my back on you now. We're done here. They tried to, they were in on an effort to get Jeff Pritchett in some trouble with his ex and all this kind of nastiness, and tried telling me to be careful who my friends are and all this kind of junk. And I said, no, I'm fine. If someone wants to generalize about me and put me in with him and all this other kind of stuff, then that's on them. That says more about them than it does me. And I'm not concerned with the opinion of these sheep out here. I've said it a million times, and I'll keep saying it. If anybody has any kind of documentation where they can show me where Jeffrey Pritchett has lied to me about anything, give it to me, and I'll drop him like a rock. And I've said that to Jeff a million times, and it's never happened. So, I'm in good with these dudes, with Shep and Jeff, and for all the warts that Jeff has, and he likes to piss off people by saying, suck a puss toot out my fart box, and my God, you wouldn't believe how many people that upsets and makes them go stupid nuts, and it, and it's nothing.
Oh my gosh.
And it's so funny, too, when he says that to people, because I know what he's doing. You know, he's doing it to jack them up, and they get all upset. I'm like, you guys are just getting played, you know? Played for idiots. But, oh, my God, it's 10 o'clock Central here, 11 Eastern. We got to go, dude. Anything you want to close with real quick? I mean, we could do this again. I mean, it flew. So.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we should. We could. I don't know. I didn't talk about much, but I enjoyed the conversation. I'm sure there's more. So if you're interested in having me on again sometime in the next 2 weeks, I'd be happy to do it.
Yeah, man, we could do that in a month or so. We'll get it going again, and we'll do some more talking about everything, because I feel, like there's a lot to discuss early on, because posting on Facebook, and sometimes things get lost in translation a lot, and so. Yep. It's much easier to do in person, and I like having people on to talk in person with them, especially when it makes it easy when we agree on a lot of things. But, above all, when I walked away for a little while and I saw you step up, I thought, my God, it did make a difference, at least somewhere, somehow, some way. The shit I've been saying and been railing on, someone's listening. I'm not crazy, It just great. You brought validation to my life.
Nice. It's a bromance.
it's let's light this bromance, All right, man, let's go ahead and get out of here. And you can listen to this episode on Podbean, SoundCloud, iTunes, all those good spots. I will have the archive cranking probably by Wednesday. If I edit it and shoot it to Joe, I blame Taliban Joe for all the delays in posting, but he's used to it by now. He doesn't mind. He's got a nice flowing mane with a ponytail I like to pull on and stroke every once in a while, too. So, as you can tell, I like to have fun and say stupid things sometimes. But thanks for coming on, Danny. I appreciate it a lot, and hopefully you weren't too nervous today, and we got a lot of that out of the way, so next time we can hit the ground running again.
Yeah, no problem. I had a good time.
Cool, man. All right. Well, I'll see you on Facebook, and everybody else, I'll see you on the internets, I guess, somewhere. Twitter, the Facebook, all that good stuff. Have a good week. And next week, I'm going to try to have that Cal Israel guy on, so he's going to beat me up for being a bad host. So that should be fun.
Have a good night, man.
All righty. Thank you very much, and good night, everybody.
Welcome to the Mind Cemetery, where the paranoia about the paranormal comes to rest every Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern, right here, exclusively on the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. Heard around the world online at uprntalkradio.com, on FM 107.7 New Orleans, as well as 105.9 in Pass Christian, Mississippi. As always, we will do our best to delve into the unexplained, weird, and sometimes creepy topics you won't hear in your local news. Like what you hear on the show? Then like the Mind Cemetery Facebook page and follow at Mind Cemetery on Twitter. If you want to check out the show on your time, download the Mind Cemetery off iTunes and at soundcloud.com/UPRN. For all of the UFO Paranormal Radio Network's shows, visit mindcemetery.net for info on upcoming guests, weird news, award-winning blogs, show archives, and of course the ever-present UFO Stalker. Join the discussion live in the UFO Paranormal Radio Network chat room on Pal Talk, or call into the show at 1-504-273-7379.
Yes, and thank you for hanging out with us again on another Monday night here on uprntalkradio.com, the United Public Radio Network. Every Monday night, 9 to 11. As you hear, phone lines are open, 504-273-7379. Bunch of topics tonight, but overall, when you call in, if you'd like to, what I'd like to know, two things actually today for callers. What is the biggest mystery out there to you? Nice, easy one. And then, The other question I have is a little harder. What is your first experience with the paranormal or UFOs in general, or even maybe a conspiracy here and there that you ran into as a kid? But what was that first experience you had? And how has it affected you from there on out in your perception of a lot of experiences or other people's experiences? So it's kind of a difficult one. It's very, what do I say? Existential, I guess. Maybe. Slightly. For everybody. Sorry about that, Pop. I got a new muff, actually, for my microphone. That's the downside to getting a new muff. It was for my microphone. So no more, big screen in my face that I had. I had a big round one, so it's a little smoother, and it'll definitely work out better for when we start getting a little video chat going here, which we will on the network. Start introducing that to the whole package that we bring you in alternative media. Give you a little live streaming video of your hosts, and you get to see the studio in their beautiful face. Except, in most cases, they're not so beautiful, except for mine, of course, when you dial it in. You'll get to see, and you'll be glad you did. And you'll be wondering, why isn't this guy on television? And then you'll be wondering, how come no one's killed this guy yet? Or beaten him severely. Well, that's subjective, of course. When I say severe beating, that is. It's many subtle degrees from just beat down to severe beating, I guess. But anyway, we can all hope, though, right? Everybody can have a dream. Tonight's episode is sponsored by TK Digital Marketing. You can find them online, tkdigitalmarketing.com. Follow them on Twitter, tkdigitalmktg, so it's the abbreviation for marketing, and like TK Digital Marketing on Facebook. Looking to boost your business, improve, establish, or revolutionize your digital marketing with a full-service digital team, from social media to web development to SEO and PPC. Learn more at tkdigitalmarketing.com. Or if you're a fan of Twitter and you like to get information much faster and hopefully a little less nonsense, then I would definitely follow them. Versus Facebook, that is. At tkdigitalmktg on Twitter there. And you'll get to see interesting stories about social media strategies there. And quite frankly, if you're running a business and you don't have a digital footprint in any way, shape, or form, then you're probably not doing too well. Or at least you could do a whole lot better. At least more bang for your buck, and that's the name of the game. Return on investment. So check them out, tkdigitalmarketing.com, for any more questions that you need answering. More importantly, why you need to get up in front, out in front of a digital footprint for your business, too, is controlling the message, that's for sure. What your business does, what you can do for people, all that kind of stuff. And, of course, positive reviews from when you've done well, or a customer likes what you've been doing for them. But anyway, let's see what we have going on tonight. It's been kind of busy. It was my birthday last Friday, so it was a long weekend. I tried to do as little as possible, of course, which worked out well in some places and not so well in others, as you can imagine. But we all managed to survive, of course. To ride some go-karts with my son. That was a good time. Always a good time. So there were a lot of stories out here that we could talk about, but some of the newer ones I'm going to hit on was one that I noticed from online, of course. This Washington blog talking about new documents from Snowden. that were released and what they're actually saying that's going on. British spies seed the internet with false information, including the ability to manipulate the results of online polls, artificially inflate page view counts on websites, and quote-unquote amplify sanctioned messages on YouTube and censor video content judged to be quote-unquote extremist. So, basically, what they're telling you, or Edward Snowden is telling you in the release of these documents, saying all of this good stuff, is everything you've probably feared in the past, and that's basically everything connected to the internet or on the internet or disseminated via the internet and its various social media venues can be manipulated. Not only can it, but it has, and it will continue to be. So,
boo.
Right, and it plays right into the entire net neutrality issues that people have, and they're talking about more boo, right? Because that definitely was the last bastion of freedom, supposedly, is the internet, where you can get all the truth unfiltered, allegedly, because now it's pretty much confirmed that it has been, at least by the British people, and it's now government, that is, spy agency GCHQ.
Well, this is just anonymous group anonymous, and we're hacking you, man.
With any luck.
No, actually, I just cut in for a minute because I wanted to let everybody know. I forgot a couple of things. Erica's new book's coming out today, but I wanted to. But what I wanted to talk to you about was the show you did. What was it, Tuesday? I actually put it in a featured list on the SoundCloud.
Nice.
So, guys, if you're looking if you're going for the Big Shoulder Sports Show from last Tuesday, because I know he's got one coming up tomorrow. It was an interesting show. Actually, I think I just put the clip part up at the top. What was it, 30 minutes, 20 minutes?
Yeah, there's a 26-minute interview there with John
20
Ziegler.
minutes, 26 minutes and 66 seconds.
It got a lot of attention on Twitter there, at Shrug Sports, if you follow the sports show there. That's pretty much why I didn't do a show last week, too. I was prepping for that, and, of all the comments I've gotten out of it, I've only gotten one comment that said, I got owned, or we got owned, and it was from a very fervent defender of John Ziegler. So I said, well, thank you for your listen, and thank you for your advice, because you are the first and only person to come to that conclusion so far, that has told me at least. So for every positive note that I've been given via Twitter or Facebook or something like that because of all this and the thing, I like to think there's at least 5 or 10 that aren't posting, and then or telling me that feel the same way, and then conversely, I'm sure there's a bunch that think I suck and it was terrible that just haven't notified me yet. So
I thought you owned the interview. I don't think he ever got control of the entire interview. I thought you did a really good job. It was a very professionally held interview. He didn't want to have his feet held to the fire. You could tell by that. He was squirming and worming the whole time. But in the end, he didn't get because I could tell when he first started talking to him that, well, this guy's got a set message in his head. He wants to go. He wants you to ask these questions so he can answer these answers, and in this particular order, which actually I think pissed him off. Excuse my language, ladies. About halfway through the interview, he did get a little snappy there, a little more than just his usual personality. Which is
he went a little above and beyond to try to provoke us and get us off key and talk about what he wants to talk about, and I made that clear in the interview that I'm asking the questions, and now I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about, because he's locked and loaded to go with his usual rhetoric. And that was, I felt, the key to preparing for that interview, is stay away from what he's locked and loaded for and go with curveballs all day. It's not a matter of me not being able to debate him on his quote-unquote facts and all that kind of garbage. The point is that he doesn't believe there's any victims. So when it comes down to that, then why should I even debate a human being, that believes that all 45 or 48 counts of, sexual deviancy with minors against Jerry Sandusky?
All them children threw themselves on him, and they lied about their age. They had fake IDs.
Well, it was all for money. See, and that's another point where I tried to get out with that, is the conspiracy aspect that he likes to float out there without actually saying the word conspiracy, because that's another tactic of his that he uses, is to say things without saying them and dance around words. And he doesn't like having his foot to the fire, like I was saying, and so, or like you were saying. And a lot of people that listen to the show aren't going to know who John Ziegler is, but
look him up.
it's an interview.
Look him up and then go listen to the interview. There you go.
To listen to actually see me interview someone for the first time that is hostile from the beginning, because like Joe said, he come with his agenda, and you knew he didn't take it serious because he was busy out at a park with his kid, he said. So you can tell right there he didn't come with any intentions to actually debate anything. It was just to kind of play around and have fun. Well, I feel like it kind of backfired on him, because I got him to agree to something he had been avoiding me on Twitter for a very long time, and that's disclose your financial documentation, your W-2s. Where do you get your money? And he agreed to that, and he's been very quiet since then, so that's very telling to me.
Yeah.
Something I wanted to hit on that interview.
Here, this is where I got my money, jackass. In my wallet. Now, what else? What else you want to know about?
Yeah. Another good funny thing, too, with that interview is Jay asked about Franco Harris and his relationship with him and how that is, because the week before then, basically a week within our interview, Franco dissolved his relations with John Ziegler. So he hit on a fresh wound, and having John sit there and have to smile his way through, oh, we're fine. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you didn't think anybody was going to ask that question, did you? He's very used to soft local interviews in the Valley there, in Happy Valley, as they like to call it. So, my official stance on Joe Paterno, I'll talk more about that, and it's a very sad state of what broke down of a man that was and probably could have stopped a lot of things in his younger days, and then how he turned very apathetic in his older age. Let's put it that way, I think. So no conspiracy needed. Plenty of folks around him to help him shuffle things away, and that's why there's folks on the Board of Trustees from Penn State University in trouble right now. So we'll see how that shakes out as well. So we'll see what they have to say about any kind of cover-up or anything like that. And, of course, there's no conspiracy for a cover-up in John's eyes, but there is definitely a conspiracy on the part of the alleged 10 victims to cash in for money. So keep that in mind.
You can't ever rule out that people wouldn't jump on somebody for money. It wouldn't even be the first time in our history that one person said something and 5-6 other people jumped on it. But the really important is apparently they were convincing enough to convince a jury to convict his ass.
Right.
I hate to say it that way. I mean, that was kind of rude, but
a jury of his peers, and of course he likes to talk due process. And like I think I asked him what his version of due process was, because due process takes case in the courtroom. It's not a matter of jury pools being tainted and all. That's not due process. In these
kind of cases, you never will ever really truly know. All you can say here is, well, these 10 against 1, and that's just how it is, and that should be enough to prove that, Now, I'm not exaggerating numbers for anybody who writes to Jeff. That's just the numbers. It's but then again, there was just a case just recently where they were suing an NFL player who said, oh, by the way, there's another case like that too. What was it, Darren Sharper, isn't it? Who's getting sued?
Oh, yeah, one of the
ex ones, yeah. But anyway, one of these cases just recently, there was like 7 of them. All of them got dropped. They found out none of them were real. And then even in Goofball's case, 5 of them have already been dropped. So it does show that people do have a tendency to jump on the bandwagon for the money, but generally where there's that much smoke, there's some kind of frickin' fire going on. So let's rephrase this and say only one of the 10 had actually happened to. Well, he still got what he deserved, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
soon exactly.
Enough.
Yeah. And it's as they're bringing up in the chat room here, talking about all the problems over there with the pedophile and sex scandals. There are pedophilia charges against Friends of the Crown in the UK. There's a lot of, as I posted in the chat room, a lot of what I like to call the diddling knights out there. So it seems like there's a lot of them they got to cover up. People. Yeah, and I just saw something too that Sasha was posting about how just conveniently everything you want to ask the royal family is now they don't have to tell you nothing.
Yeah. Ladies and
So
gentlemen,
that's convenient for them.
We're talking about Sasha Christie. She hosts on Citizen Scene on Friday night. She's off right now because she just had a newborn. And chip, period with a newborn, doll. Sasha, slap on the ass. Make it yeah. Sasha's always hilarious, man. She's a great researcher, and she's a lot of fun to talk to. So I'll be glad when she gets back. I've seen her making some comments on Facebook today about children. I'm going to let Chip go back. I see there's a couple people trying to call. Seeing Kathy, and it looks like Ben or somebody's phone. So I'm going to get off here so y'all can call Chip. Y'all don't have to go be...
Hey, there we go.
Yeah, I know you feel abused by me people, but it happens sometimes, you know. What can you say? My co-host says I abuse her ass all the time. She's right.
Hey, that's the victim mentality out there. You know, after our interview, John Ziegler tried to play the victim on Twitter, you know, so...
Y'all can't tell Stephanie, but Cop sends me $10 a week just to give her shit.
That's a couple beers.
Just so it says a case of beer, there you go. If I could get 10 for everybody, man, I'd be rolling. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here. I just wanted to come tell you about that, and I wanted to tell you if y'all wanted to hear the interview, you can catch it over on Soundgarden.
SoundCloud.
I did it again. I'm starting my own thing here, y'all. On SoundCloud. Right. I mean, it's on Soundgarden. I mean, on Podgarden too, but
Podgarden. Yes.
But you can go over. It's a feature one. It's the very first one at the top. It'll be up there for probably 2-3 weeks. Give everybody a good chance to listen. Then we'll fold it back into the flow. We're trying to wean y'all off of wherever invisible you're listening to the archives now. I noticed my GoDaddy thing says we have listeners, but it doesn't work anymore. I'm kind of like, what the hell?
That's that British government manipulation right there.
Going on over there. But anyway, I'm going to I see somebody out calling in as I'm leaving out of here.
There you go. Hello, caller.
Hey, Chip.
Hey, what up, Callie? How you doing?
Yeah, good. Since you had open lines, of course I couldn't help but try calling in, especially since you didn't have a show last week.
Yeah, it's been a while, that's for sure, and it's gotten a little busy this weekend, and I haven't heard from you at least a month, it seems like.
Yeah, it was a while. But anyway, you said that for anyone that calls in, that there were 2 questions you wanted to answer. The first one was, what's the biggest mystery to us currently? That's the first one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, one, I would say, the biggest mystery is what happened to the Nick Redfern book that I was supposed to get from you.
There you go. You got me. Which one is it? The, what is it? The For Nobody's Eyes Only? I'm looking at my shelf.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, I think it is For Nobody's Eyes Only.
Yeah. Well,
right.
At least
refresh. Send me back your information on Facebook again, and I'll get on it here.
Yeah. I'll try messaging to you. Though it'd probably be a little easier if you actually friended me, accept my friend request, because I believe I sent you a friend request. But
I'll get on it. Damn it.
Yeah, but if that goes the case, I'll at least get a book from Erica Gesh because I actually shared some of my artwork with her that she said she's putting in her book, and
nice.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I'm really
looking forward to it. Published. You can put that next to your name forever then.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to her having a show again. Because she's okay. But anyway, back in all seriousness, the biggest I'd say that one of the biggest mysteries to me is that from listening to the show and actually to the station in general, and just hearing about all these abduction cases, I guess the biggest mystery to me is why, if they're just always here, what? I mean, if they're coming here constantly and there's supposed to be so many of them, why haven't we just on a very credible evidence for them, outside of abduction cases? Why we haven't really seen any we're seeing any signals, at least from past civilizations that still used radio, or find any evidence of warp or waste heat or anything like that. That's what you call the Great Filter. I believe that's what they call it. Or Fermi paradox.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
Nice. So why we haven't gotten any kind of the same hints at intelligent life that we're sending out from anybody else, basically, and why they haven't left any evidence behind. Well. I think, at least in the in the mythology realm of UFOs and aliens, right? You know, in the hierarchy that they're held up on, the higher, you know, shelf than the paranormal. And it's probably by design because, you know, nobody wants to think you're being visited by something dumber than you, you know, to begin with, or manipulated possibly by something dumber than us. But it seems like a lot of the times I don't want my alien being sloppy. You know, I don't know if I want a sloppy alien visiting us, leaving behind traces. You know, I think that's just bad business for them to do what they got to do.
Yeah, well, if there's supposed to be billions of them, that couldn't be helped even if they were very careful. Because, like, honestly, if there were billions of intelligent races, you would constantly see light zipping across the sky, and it would be like almost like shooting stars on a date every like few minutes or something. But you don't see that.
And well, maybe we're just out of the way too, you know, in the galaxy, or at least in the Milky Way galaxy. I know we're on one of the outside bands there, and to use a Star Wars term, maybe we're on the outer rim. Who knows?
Yeah, I remember like hearing before, kind of a while back, that our planet's actually in a place where we can actually know what's in and outside of the universe very, very well, because like we're kind of outside of the orb. I think like one of the like star clusters are in the galaxy arms or something like that. I can't remember the exact details. It was a while back, but like we should at least be able to like see these kind of things at least very well. And I've also heard that like if aliens are very, very old, they wouldn't be using radio transmissions anymore, but some other kind of communication. And I've heard about like quantum entanglement, where you can have like two particles at any given point in the universe vibrating at the same time and still be able to like connect with each other, and that's a way of like interstellar communication in real time. Chip?
Yes. No, I'm just thinking, you know, maybe so you're saying that something like an internet keeps the communications more tied to their planet and their species, basically, and there's less like loosey-goosey signals being tossed out all over the place. Yeah. But then again, you still have that age factor, I think, that you were talking about, that even if they started down that path like we did, we'd still have seen something or heard something, I guess.
Yeah, and like the universe would have been like colonized like thousands, billions of times over, and if you believe all the ancient alien stuff, like it probably would have prevented like any other kind of like intelligent species arising here, because they probably would have been here, and like if they were advanced enough to cross stars, they would have been able to like prevent or mediate any disasters that would cause them to leave, like an asteroid type strike or something like that, or some kind of other natural disaster.
Yeah, that is a good point. And Mad Chipmunk in the chat room is pretty much echoing the same thing, is that something is wrong, and we should be detecting some sort of signals out there. That's a good point. And you know, who's to say we haven't interpreted it just wrong? You know, maybe some signals that we're using are not the same, or you know how you always hear about infrared spectrums and different interdimensional and all that kind of stuff being used with aliens and visitation. So who knows?
Heard about, like how some aliens may even use like flashes of laser flashes or something, kind of like interstellar Morse code, because those things would travel at the speed of light and be much quicker than radio transmissions. Though then again, that seems rather ineffective, because you still have light speed, so even from like the distance between here and the Alpha Centauri system, it would take like 4 years for a message to get across. It's almost like sending posts slowly, but at a interstellar level.
You know what I was thinking the other day when I was watching TV? I was watching an episode of Fraggle Rock with my kids, and I hung out to the credits to find out, I was like, what friggin' year was this? You know, because I remember watching this when I was a kid, for God's sakes. And it's like 83, and I was like, holy shit. And then asked Nicole, I was like, some other species is watching Fraggle Rock probably right now and thinking, what the hell is going on here?
Assuming they can receive it.
Yeah. Is
And
that,
actually,
maybe they're getting it. They're getting these old shows of ours, and thinking, oh, what,
Yeah, if it's really embarrassing, we're probably lucky that they're not receiving it.
Right? Yeah, God knows what they're getting. That's for sure.
Yeah, or not getting. But, yeah. Anyway, you had a second question about, what was my, first experience with the paranormal and stuff and how that affected my life. Well, honestly, I'm pretty sure I'm not an abductee, and I can't really say that I've had, an encounter with ghosts or spirits or anything like that. The closest thing is just hearing about it on TV from, programs on the History Channel, because, it had a lot of those, or on National Geographic, because I became interested in the topic of aliens, but at the time I was more interested in more animal-like aliens or